everyone. Welcome back to the show. I'm Anna. Let me start with a simple question today. Have you ever looked at someone and thought, wow, they're just naturally talented? Maybe it's someone who speaks English fluently, or a musician who plays effortlessly, or a creator who just seems to have it. It feels like they were born different. But what if that's not true? What if what we call talent is actually something much less mysterious, something far more ordinary, something called repetition? We usually only see the final version of a person. We see the confident speaker, not the years of hesitation behind the scenes. We see the fluent English, not the thousands of awkward mistakes before it. We see the success, not the repetition that built it. And because we don't see the process, we assume it must be talent. But here's the truth. Most talent is just repetition. That happened long enough for people to forget it was repetition. You may have heard of something called the 10,000 hour rule. It suggests that if you practice a skill for around 10,000 hours, you can become world class at it. Now, is that number exact? Not really, but the idea behind it is powerful. Great skill is not a moment. It's an accumulation. Let's break it down. If you practice 3 hours a day, that's roughly 10 years. 10 years of showing up. 10 years of repeating the same skill. Not perfectly, not always motivated, but consistently. That's what builds mastery. Not one big breakthrough, but thousands of small repetitions. Here's the problem with repetition. It doesn't feel like progress. You practice today, nothing changes. You try again tomorrow, still no big difference. And your brain starts asking, is this even working? That's where most people quit. Not because they can't improve, but because improvement is too slow to notice. Repetition doesn't reward you immediately. It rewards you later, sometimes much later. Repetition is not just practice, it's identity building. Every time you repeat something, you're telling your brain, this is who I am becoming. At first, it feels awkward, then it feels familiar, then it feels natural, and eventually, it becomes automatic. That's how people change, not through motivation, but through repetition that slowly reshapes who they are. Let's be honest, repetition is boring. That's why it works. Most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they can't tolerate boredom. They want something new, something exciting, something fast. But mastery lives on the opposite side of excitement. It lives in doing the same thing again and again when nobody is watching and nothing feels exciting anymore. That's the real filter. Not intelligence, not talent, but patience with repetition. But here's an important point. Repetition alone is not enough. If you repeat something wrong, you just become consistently wrong. That's why awareness matters. Ask yourself, what did I do better today? What felt off? What can I adjust slightly? Even tiny improvements matter. Think of it like sharpening a knife. You're not replacing it. You're refining the same edge over and over again, slowly, carefully, repeatedly. We live in a world that loves speed, fast results, quick success, instant transformation. So repetition feels outdated, too slow, too simple, too boring. But that's exactly why it works, because most people can't stay with it long enough. They start, but they don't stay. And that gap between starting and staying is where mastery lives. Instead of asking, am I good at this? Try asking, have I repeated this enough times yet? Because early in any skill, it's not about being good or bad. It's about accumulation. You're not being judged, you're being built. Every repetition is a signal to your brain. Every repetition is shaping your future self. Here's something surprising. The more skilled someone becomes, the more boring their practice often looks. No drama, no shortcuts, just fundamentals repeated. Athletes drill the same movement. Writers refine the same idea. Speakers practice the same structure. Nothing flashy, just repetition at a high standard. That's what mastery actually looks like. So let me leave you with this. Repetition is not what you do when you're stuck. Repetition is the work itself. Talent is often just repetition that people didn't see. The 10,000 hour idea isn't about obsession with time, it's about respect for accumulation. Small actions, repeated long enough until they stop being actions and become identity. So maybe the real question isn't, do I have talent? Maybe it's, what am I willing to repeat for the next few years? Because in the end, repetition to the extreme is the most reliable talent you can build. Thanks for listening. I'm Anna, and I'll see you in the next episode.